Breaking news! At 3:14 a.m., 4 Raptors obliterated 5 Houthi bases with 16 smart bombs, silencing arsenals that threaten trade in the Red Sea. The Pentagon celebrates 95% of targets neutralized and 0 civilian casualties, while regional leaders cry out for revenge. Subscribe if you think the United States did the right thing, and comment if you believe this will spark another conflict. Let's begin. At 15:10, the F-22A Raptor tail number 017, call sign Wolf, assumed the air superiority patrol assigned to the Red Sea corridor with active link to the E-3G early warning aircraft, 2 KC-135 tankers deployed as relay nodes, and the Forward Operations Center established on the eastern coast. The initial mission consisted of protecting commercial and military traffic crossing Bab al-Mandeb, a critical point where the Houthis had increased the use of attack drones and surface-to-air missiles. But the flight plan changed the moment the ALR-94 system console indicated illumination from a guidance radar deployed on the outskirts of Hodeidah. And almost simultaneously, the pilot's infrared helmet sensor detected the plume of an SA-17 missile ascending. Without delay, the pilot applied standard procedure, released chaff, activated broadband jamming, executed a thrust vectoring turn, and dropped altitude without abandoning the coverage position. The guidance signal lost lock, and the missile fragmented at a safe distance. But the incident was enough for Central Command to raise the rules of engagement and authorize the immediate neutralization of 5 key sites supporting the Houthi offensive against international shipping. The prioritized list included a ballistic missile underground complex in Hodeidah, a drone depot in Sayada, a communications command center in Amran, an air defense logistics park south of Hodeidah, and a UAV assembly plant in Damar. Wolf held an awaiting circuit while intelligence analysts confirmed coordinates and surface units adjusted their defensive postures. At 15:18, the encrypted order arrived. Proceed without delay, minimize exposure, avoid collateral damage. The Raptor plotted the most efficient route to strike the first target and, taking advantage of its reduced frontal radar signature, launched guided munitions against the reinforced entrance of the Hodeidah bunker. The internal detonation, corroborated by infrared sensors of a P-8A patrolling further south, triggered a secondary reaction in the stored missiles and disabled the complex. Without pausing the sequence, the F-22 climbed several thousand feet, turned toward Sayada, and used its AESA radar in synthetic aperture mode to discriminate structures disguised as agricultural buildings, behind whose walls drones were ready for missions against ships. The second strike pierced the roof, igniting fires that destroyed aircraft, engines, fuel reserves, and launch equipment. During the transition to the third target, a second Houthi battery fired a triple salvo of SA-17s, closing to less than 20 seconds from the fighter's engagement envelope. Wolf alternated flares and sustained turns, used selective jamming of the tracking frequency, and positioned the enemy at an angle beyond ballistic recovery, forcing self-destruction of the missiles. At 15:36, the pilot regained altitude and headed for the Amran command center, infrastructure buried under layers of concrete housing servers for links with foreign advisors, and microwave antennas feeding tactical connections to several rebel cells. With support from an RQ-4B providing multispectral imagery, the Raptor released a short sequence of staggered munitions that disabled generators, communications racks, and the fiber optic backup node, confirmed when Allied command posts registered prolonged silence on Houthi bands. While the intelligence team processed the blackout, the fighter vectored south of Hodeidah, where transport vehicles and anti-aircraft launchers rested under sheet metal shelters, accompanied by short-range artillery. The F-22's low radar cross-section frustrated acquisition attempts by the gunners, and the program detonation wiped out the logistics park, causing secondary explosions recorded by a commercial satellite from polar orbit. With 4 targets neutralized, the final phase focused on the Dehamar assembly plant. On approach, an MQ-9 Reaper temporarily suppressed rebel radar coverage with 2 air-to-surface missiles, allowing the Raptor to release its remaining munitions over the main hangar and parts depots, dismantling the assembly line that had enabled the Houthis to sustain a steady drone supply. In total, the kinetic phase ended in under 40 minutes, enough time for surveillance platforms to confirm loss of electromagnetic activity in all nodes attacked. From that point, the mobile interdiction phase began. Orbital and aerial sensors identified 4 convoys attempting to withdraw weapons and material from interior zones toward improvised shelters. Wolf, with limited munitions but operational laser designator, successively marked each column so armed drones with precision munitions could intercept them before they crossed rivers and bridges identified as escape routes. As the operation progressed, the F-22 received multiple alerts of new SAM launches, but the combination of load maneuvers, electronic countermeasures, and stealth profile kept the aircraft out of danger. Past 1600, with critical complexes disabled and no immediate hostile radar signals, Command authorized the return to base. The aircraft climbed, adopted an optimized cruise profile, and landed around 1800, where technicians certified full structural integrity and system readiness. The post-mission damage report estimated Rebel capability degradation as a substantial loss of ballistic vectors, drone platforms, radars, tactical links, and logistics reserves. Although the operation did not eliminate future threats, since the Houthi network retains external support and resupply logistics, it disrupted missile launcher cohesion and forced Rebel commanders to pull resources deeper inland, complicating immediate reconstitution of their offensive apparatus. Diplomatically, the strike was presented to regional partners as a one-time deterrent action aimed at protecting navigation and preventing escalation, while specialized analysts highlighted the importance of maintaining a persistent veil of multi-source intelligence to detect reconstruction of destroyed nodes. Logistics planners requested resupply of precision-guided munitions and proposed refreshing crew training on evasion patterns in case longer-range SAM systems are introduced. In parallel, Central Command coordinated with the Navy to maintain Aegis destroyer rotations and long-endurance drone patrols to ensure continuity of missile defense coverage over the maritime corridor, noting that commercial routes began reopening with significantly lower risk according to international insurers. Strategically, the action demonstrated the effectiveness of integrating stealth, electronic warfare, and smart munitions in a scenario defined by mobile threats and dispersed air defenses, and provided a case study on how quickly a rebel apparatus can lose cohesion when its depots, links, and assembly lines are struck simultaneously. Intelligence officers added that the adversary's resilience requires constant vigilance and exploitation of the window, while the enemy reorganizes its command networks to press with diplomatic actions and monitored ceasefire offers. For the Raptor crew, the day ended with cockpit recording reviews and countermeasure performance logs, while Command forwarded to ministries an economic impact estimate, lower insurance premiums for commercial vessels, reduced traffic on alternative routes, and less volatility in the freight market. In political circles, the discussion revolved around whether to expand the exclusion zone to certain Yemeni ports or delegate more responsibility to regional allied forces, a debate that remains open as long as Houthis retain residual capacity. For now, the precise elimination of the 5 operational centers provides a window of opportunity to stabilize the maritime route, though commanders warn the campaign cannot be considered complete until constant surveillance confirms the enemy has not replaced destroyed systems nor received advanced long-range weaponry, such as Iranian-designed batteries capable of overcoming the current defense umbrella. The lesson of the day was recorded. The combination of true stealth, simultaneous interdiction, and measured use of guided munitions produces a multiplying effect that reduces exposure time, preserves crew lives, and limits enemy propaganda opportunities. Awaiting the next battlefield evolution, the task force keeps 4 fifth-generation fighters on alert, ready to launch in under 15 minutes, and has reinforced unmanned patrol presence to cover sectors where Houthi units might attempt to rebuild arsenals. The narrative closes with a clear balance. 5 rebel bases neutralized, several convoys destroyed, no friendly casualties, no allied unit impact, a safer maritime corridor, and tangible proof of how technological superiority, now when combined with real-time intelligence and flexible command, can decisively degrade enemy structures in extremely short spans, even if the long-term challenge remains the coalition's ability to sustain the pace of vigilance and deterrence against an adversary that continues to show inventiveness, external supply access, and willingness to adapt. Before concluding, it is worth examining the operation from different angles. Was it a preventive strike that limited the Houthis' ability to threaten maritime routes? Or could it trigger regional escalation? Does the action demonstrate the technological reach of the U.S. Air Force, or does it increase the number of adversaries willing to respond? And in terms of international law, how should the legitimacy of a strike be assessed when, according to preliminary data, no civilian casualties were caused? I invite you to share your analysis in the comments. Anticipatory defense or excessive use of force? If you want to follow the evolution of this conflict, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to receive the next reports.